highway distribution formula, which is good for rural counties. It's been really difficult to sell that across the state. We did, I think during the COVID years, there was one piece of infrastructure money that we used, I think some call it the Upper Great Plains funding formula, which is basically the same thing. It's on your county or township miles, and you get reimbursed in that method. It's much better for rural areas. So since he's not here, you might want to contact Senator Clyde and lobby him on the House formula is better for Wells County, which he obviously knows, but I know he'd love to hear from you. And he apologizes for not being here today. He had a grandchild presentation in Bismarck that he had to attend. I think that's important that we not only increase a user fee for the roads, but we're starting to strike out in a different method of distribution, because it's important for rural communities to get some more money back here for road funding. As the flex funding, and I understand that there's an individual to speak more about the flex funding proposal, but that was established by shifting the motor vehicle excise tax, or the sales tax when you buy a vehicle, to this flex funding formula, and then some, I think 1% legacy earnings is also contribute to that fund. That's been a real boost for counties and township road funding, and as that goes forward, some of it's competitive. I think that the bridge project in Wells County that was completed this last summer was part of that, and there will be more bridge road money in the future. That's going to be good for rural North Dakota, and that's the two biggest areas that I can speak to from the House side in the first half. Like I say, we do have the DOT budget in the second half in the House, and we'll have I know we're having an overview on Wednesday, I believe, in regard to the fund, what's coming across from the Senate in that area. But that's the biggest pieces that I can speak to right now as to where we're at. I think there's support for, we need to get rural support on the gas tax. I don't think you'll have any trouble with Senator Klein in the Senate with that, but if you know legislators in other districts, reach out and Richard, and make sure that other rural township and county groups do reach out to their legislators asking for their support in this, because it's important that we have another funding stream for our rural roads. I know Robin wants to talk more about some of the property tax things. He's been more involved in specifically in those bills than I have. So I think I'll just leave it at that. And unless there's any questions.
What is the state gas tax now?
24 cents.
24?
Yeah, this would raise it to 27. And I think if I read the printout, I think Wells County, it's not a big number. I think it's like 107,000 or something like that would bring into Wells County. But the bigger issue is that the ability for funding based on road miles rather than highway distribution, because that's based on how much gas is sold in your local area and the registrations, that's all heavily weighted towards the urban areas of the state in both of those areas. So they get the bulk of the money, and there'll be some pushback from those areas on that feature. So we need to. I should also mention that there is a new group that was formed this session called the Rural Caucus, and I got involved in that initially, but quite honestly, the last few meetings I haven't been able to go to because we've been so tied up in appropriations. But there's a group, and I think it's somewhere around 40% of the legislature is quasi-rural now. And that's, so we don't have the numbers in the legislature as rural areas used to. So we're trying to leverage the issues that are the highest priority and get some support around them. It's an attempt to build our leverage in those issues. It's not perfect yet, but it's a start, and I hope that only increases.
John, you mentioned that 3 cent gas, well, that does include registration fee for electric and hybrid vehicles,
Oh.
is that still in there?
Yeah, in that gas tax, there's also a component to increase the tax on electric vehicles. In that, it's not just on gas vehicles. So in fact, that's how it was actually titled, I think, was electric gas increase. But we know that in Wells County or Pierce County, where I live, I think we have one station or recharge station in Rugby, and I don't know the last time it was used. So it's not a heavily used issue or area of concern. Any other questions? If not, I'll turn it over to Robin. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon also. I think almost everyone here should know me, but Robin Wise. Been doing this for quite a while. I will talk about property tax, but just to weigh in a little more on the gas tax bill. Of the total package, 1/3 of the money will go into townships. So they will receive 1/3 of that 30% increase, and then cities and counties will receive 2/3 of that gas tax increase. And so, and I don't remember if John actually pointed it out, but 40% of your gas tax is paid out of state. So there's a tax that when people are driving through, they're at least paid to help maintain our roads. So from that standpoint, I think it is worthy of support. We have increased gas tax in 1999, and then it went up 3 cents from 21 to 24. Now we're moving gas with $1 a gallon. Now we don't even notice 3 cents. In fact, if it doesn't move at least 10 cents, we don't notice it, it seems like. So, well, anyway, I do think that how it shakes out in the end, if it does get modified some, but certainly that would at least put some more money back on the table for townships and counties. So even though I know this isn't a direct township issue, but there's been a lot of interest in property tax reform. There's a couple major bills that have been floating around. Of course, I guess I would admit I like the one version because it is my bill, but in my version, everybody gets some tax relief. 1176 is a bill that strictly offers a credit for primary residents, and that's it. Under my bill, all residential property would get a 30% decrease. Ag and commercial would get a 15% decrease. So everybody's getting a decrease or a relief. And what it really would be, nobody would have to apply for anything, unlike in the other bill, you'd still have to apply to get the credit. This will just be automatic. Taxes will be lower. The county sends the bill, basically sends the bill to the state, and the state would reimburse the difference between the current and what the relief portion would be. So it's 1575 is the bill number, that's correct. So it's simple and clean. It does contain a cap. And I realize local subdivisions aren't a fan of the cap. But under the one proposal, particularly for townships, I have no idea how the cap would ever work. Because it's pretty much impossible. If you did need to increase the levy, good luck. The cap that was melded into my bill at least allows, any political subdivisions that are looking forward to ask for a vote for an increase in their levy authority. It's not based on your budget or anything else, it's based on the tax assessment, and if township says 5 years from now, we gotta say exceed the 18 mills, they could go to the people and ask them to vote to exceed the 18 mills. So it does allow the flexibility, same with the county, if you're at 60 mills. You know, you're looking at in 3 to 5 years, you know, health insurance costs, labor costs, need that new blade, whatever. They then would have the ability to ask for a levy increase that would be good for 6 years. And then the levy would go off. And then, you know, if they needed to continue, they would have to vote for it again. So, you know, we think, you know, we're getting some relief for ag, which none of the other proposals offer anything for ag or our small businesses. I mean, frankly, ag and small business are the ones that are generating the revenue and employing the people that allow them to buy a house and have the privilege of paying property tax. So we think this is a more fair way, and it also makes it easier for especially the small counties, small cities to raise levies if the voters agree, and they need to. You know, one of the interesting facts is the big cities are the ones that are howling the loudest about some sort of a cap. And yet some of them only less than 20% of their revenue comes from property tax. So that's not, you know, that isn't even their main source of revenue, but you take our small counties or small cities, you know, especially where there's no retail trade at all, there's no sales tax revenue. So almost everything, their source of funding is coming from property tax. So they at least need to have a mechanism in place to be able to go to the voters and say, yeah, we need an increase over the cap that's put on. So while I'm not a fan of caps, there's no way the session is gonna leave without putting some cap on political subdivisions. And I feel this is by far the easiest and most fair to implement for whether it's a township, city, or county. So that's really what we're doing on property tax, and I think there is, John mentioned, there's a lot of stuff coming from the Senate for bridges that are flowing through different funds, but until we take a look at it on the DOT budget, I'm not sure where all that'll end up. Other than that, I guess from a township standpoint, it's been relatively quiet. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Got a question.
Yeah.
How many million are we given every 2 years to that water pipeline? That will never have any water in it.
Well, I believe this biennium, the proposal, I believe is around 180 million.
So they're getting 180 million every 2 years. The county doesn't have enough money to blade our roads.
Okay, so their appropriation is done every biennium, so that's strictly for the going forward biennium. But, you know, the honest state made a commitment 3 sessions ago for $800 million. They basically made a commitment to that pipeline. Now, the only thing I do know, and I haven't heard Senator Hogan supposedly might be able to get $450 million for the pipeline, which means the state's obligations, we would then take out $450 million of our obligations. But yeah, I mean, I did not support it.
What happens when that 880 million or whatever it is you spend? That's not gonna build it, is it?
Then it's up to the locals to cover the rest. You know, they're gonna have to tax themselves, the city of Fargo, except Grand Forks, to fund it. Now, again, you know, John mentioned, there's only about 40% of us that are rural. And so we don't have the boats anymore. And it used to be we had, even though they were rural, but we had friends in the city that either grew up on the farm, their parents still farmed, their grandparents farmed. They understood the rural. Well, there's hardly any of them left either. So we don't have the boats. We didn't have the boats even to stop it initially. You know, my guess is if it runs short, the state will fund more dollars. And, you know, I don't agree with that, but I mean, there's no way to stop it. When you have that many boats, you have what, 23 or 24 legislators out of Fargo alone? You know, and then you had Grand Forks, and you had Valley City. The eastern third of the valley pretty much has the majority already of the votes in the legislature. So that's what we contend with. I mean, and that's why I think John mentioned it's very important. Some of these rural issues, we're gonna run out of time to get them passed. Because pretty soon, there won't be enough of us left to have much of a say in anything, especially with term limits coming up. It's gonna change the dynamics big time. Yeah.
I've got a question. Federal government, because of the water that's underneath Lake Sakakawea, they promised North Dakota water out to the eastern part of North Dakota, in the Oaks area. Where, now the state is building the pipeline, where is the federal government? Were they left off the hook on their promise?
They built a canal.
Yeah, you have the canal to nowhere.
Okay, that never got completed, so where is the federal government on this pipeline? Are they helping any, or?
There is some federal, not a lot. And that's why Hoban is pushing for the 450 million. I don't know, John, if you know how much federal.
If I could, we got a permit, the state of North Dakota got a permit to draw water for this pipeline from Lake Audubon. Delayed. After we had spent $80 million on this, on the control structure, or the structure on the Missouri River that now has no use, then they provided a permit. But it will still save us money at the end of the day, because we gain 20 miles, you know, in proximity that we don't have to build a pipeline. So to answer your question, the federal government has been no help. We avoid jurisdiction every chance we get, and you know, because it slows the process. I would say that when it's built, there will be water in this one. That there's no question that this is going to be used, and it's got some components for rural water systems. In fact, you know, the two the dairies, the big dairies that are being talked about in the eastern part of the state, they would probably be recipients of some of that water as well. The other thing is, you know, when we're as local legislators, you know, there comes a time when we have to look at ourselves more from a statewide perspective. And this one, it does bring that home, is the fact that there's a lot of states that are after Lake Sakakawea water. Downstream states, they want to use it. Some, you know, and I don't think this is a conspiracy, but I think there's some areas that want to run it across Nebraska and recharge the Colorado River. That's real projects that are being talked about. So we want to use as much of that water, North Dakota water, in North Dakota. I don't like every aspect of this project either, but the fact is we need to use all the water in North Dakota that we can, because I don't think we don't have much time left that we're going to be able to do that if we don't do it now. So that's another consideration.
Well, I think John makes a good point. You know, we were promised when they put the dam in, that we had basically, first water rights to all this water. And of course, as was pointed out, the whole irrigation to Oaks. So that one went away, and currently there are other states that are already challenging our right to this water. So we very well could lose our water rights. Then frankly, we didn't get anything out of the garrison diversion, or the garrison project. Because John's right, in fact, there was a project that was trucking water, wanted to see the feasibility of trucking water down to Arizona. Now, it seems ludicrous, but that's, they did a pilot project of trucking water like 1,000 miles to see if it had feasibility. So our water is at risk, there's no question. So John's right, we do need to try, the more we can utilize now, then we can't take it away from us. But if not, there's that push, so. Any other question? Yeah.
To your knowledge, did North Dakota ever sue the federal government for reneging on their promise?
No, I'm not aware of that. I mean, I know, of course, there was a lawsuit from all the environmental groups, which is why the project stopped. I'm not aware if we did sue to continue the project. I guess that's before my time of involvement. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
I don't know if everybody knows it, I just happened to discover this because I know somebody that lives along there, but from Lake Audubon to Turtle Lake and past, there is irrigation going on out of the canal.
Yes, there is some.
So they are taking a step to start using it, so if there is hope.
That was a multi-year fight to get, but yeah, there is along the canal, along Turtle Lake and other areas now, they're allowing limited irrigation. But a fraction, I believe, we were supposed to be able to irrigate 2 or 3 million acres.
Right.
That was part of the project. And we maybe are irrigating 10 or 20,000 acres total, so yeah. They didn't keep their end of the bargain.
Right.
We're living with the results. Anything else? If not, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so, okay, we can talk all day about the pipeline and its benefits or whatever, Robin, I'm probably not in favor of it. Everybody in this room knows I'm not, so, because I'm right on top of it, that's the way it is, so sometimes you just gotta take stuff. When is it the turn for the county and the townships for these bridges? I've been on a board for 40 years, I've filled out, I don't know how many grants, things like this that are a joke. Every time you fill them out, you don't qualify. Right now, we're working with the county, proving them no. We gotta fix some of these bridges, and they don't have the money, we don't have the money. Someday they're gonna fall in, somebody's gonna get killed, but we just can't get no money for this stuff. And I'm not the only township, I know there's other townships got the same problem, but, we're struggling just to gravel roads, we sure as hell can't fix a bridge.
Well, that's one thing now, the Senate, what they sent over, I think we may see 75 to 100 million additional dollars strictly for bridges. Because I think there is a realization finally that bridges across the state are in crisis.
Well, it's not just for us, guys on it, it's for all the general public.
Right.
A mail carrier or a hunter or whatever, but some of these have been in there for 100 years, they gotta get fixed.
And, and they were never intended to have a volume of commodities that nobody could even comprehend what we'd be producing today and send it across these roads. And so there does, I don't know how it's gonna shake out again for sure, but I think definitely there'll be additional money specifically targeted for bridges in the state, because that is the one thing that there does seem to be pretty much agreement. Bridges are critical. There's debate, townships don't need money, da. I'm not hearing a whole lot of negative from anybody that we don't need money for bridges. You know, probably the biggest reason there's more support, majority of the bridges are in the valley. So even the urban legislators are hearing from, you know, people from Cass County, Richland County, Grand Forks County, and that helps us because, you know, any package would be for all bridges. So that, I think there will be some substantial money. What that end dollar figure will be, I don't know. But certainly more money, you know, like Wells County, there was some money available through that flexible fund, but that didn't go that far.
We've got two rivers here that go clean through our county and they go toward Fargo.
Yeah.
And we got how many bridges and how much money do we get for them?
Yeah.
Well, that's
And
the problem.
everybody's trying to-
If we could spend $1.5 billion on a pipeline, and by the time they get done, it's gonna be $5 billion, we all know that. Why in the hell can't we replace a bridge?
Well, like I
You know, and
said,
I understand your position, it's all to do with the east, what the east.
but I
wants
mean,
to
I
eat.
do believe that we will. We're gonna get some substantial money for bridges. Cause we're, you know, I mean, we're all fighting for it there, and I think there is a big agreement even from the urban that they're hearing, you know, even in their districts that we need money for bridges, so.
And if there's ever a hearing down there or on it, let the townships and counties know. If you need people to fill a room,
Okay,
we'll fill a room for you.
will do. Anything else? If not, thanks everyone, it's always good to be here, we appreciate it. I can do my township meeting later today.
Thank you, John and Robin. Our small population on Wells County, we are really fortunate that we have two legislatures right in our county, and Berry County next door provides us with another one. So let's give them another round of applause. The next speaker will be Tracy Sletmo from the North Dakota Department of Transportation Flex Fund.
Hopefully he cooperates. I'm Tracy Sledmo. I'm with the DOT in the local government division. If you haven't heard of that division before, it's probably because my position is somewhat new. When the Flex Fund was created the last session, the local government division typically only worked with counties and cities and transit agencies, but with the added dollars for townships, myself and Ben Sampica were hired to be a contact for townships. So we know that you're frustrated with filling out applications, and the gist of what I'm gonna say is Ben and I are available to help fill those out for you. So I will have my business cards at the end. So if you, I'll talk to you on the phone, I'll fill out the application, I'll send it to you to just review it, and once you say it's good, I will submit it for you to try to make it the least painful possible. And yeah, like I said, Ben, he's located in Bismarck, he does the same thing. I'm in Castleton, so we've kind of split the state in half, but you can for sure contact either one of us. So the Flex Fund, as it exists now, half of it comes from, or the fund is created from half of the motor vehicle excise tax collected each biennium. From there, 25% of the Flex Fund must be spent on county and township roads in non-oil producing counties and townships that levy at least 18 mills. So that's how it is now. If you don't meet that criteria, then you go into what's called the partner allocation. Basically, the remaining 75% of the Flex Fund is split between the state needs and then this partner allocation, which it's up to the DOT director on how many dollars go into that partner allocation. This last time, it was similar to the set aside, but you were competing against cities, oil producing counties, any township that didn't levy 18 mills, and any township in an oil producing county. So it's better to be in that set-aside bucket if you can get in there. But there are lots of proposed changes happening. The first is that all of the motor vehicle excise tax will go into that fund. So this last biennium, between the partner allocation and the set-aside, there was $84 million. But now we're gonna have double the amount of money plus some legacy earnings funds potentially going into there, so more dollars available. As it stands now in the DOT budget, which is Senate Bill 2012, if you want to look at it, which is gonna be going over to the House, and so could be lots of changes happening. But there will be some dollars that are just distributed in some sort of formula by the state treasurer to townships, counties, and I believe cities. And then there will be more grant opportunities. But instead of just being basically the two buckets, there will be a bucket that is just for townships, which is estimated to be $28 million. There is a bucket for county bridges, which it's either 28 million or 56 million for that one. And then there's another bucket that is for counties and townships to apply for. So there will be dollars available. Unfortunately, yes, you will have to apply for them. We are currently working on revising the applications, so that way they hopefully aren't as burdensome. But like I said, I'm available to help, Ben's available to help with those applications. Anybody have questions? If not, I will stick around at the very end too to answer questions.
Are you familiar with dangerous railroad crossing? It's through the North Dakota Department of Transportation, MDOT. Are you familiar with where applications for really dangerous rail crossing?
I believe that would be through the Highway Safety Improvement Program, the HSIP program. I'm not 100%, talk to me afterwards and I'll get your contact information and I will ask around at the DOT and get back to you about that.
I'll talk to you later, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? I'll just give, my phone number is, if you have a pen to write it down, but like I said, I have some business cards too. 701-328-5073. So, 328-5073. Give me a call and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So we can talk about either a project you have you want to apply for, or if you need me to track down some info at the DOT, I'm more than happy to do that. Ben and I are here to be a resource for you guys. And if for whatever reason one of us doesn't get back to you, call the other one, and I can get you guys Ben's information too if you give me a call. So that's all I have.
Next, we'll have our tax director, Jenna, come up. She's got a couple of words she'd like to throw out to you. And I'd also like to throw out a thank you to a few of the township guys that come down to Bismarck, Bonnie Eichlee, Bob Wool, myself were down there. We had Richard Linney and Bill Umstead that came down to the Capitol on the coldest day of the winter to represent the North Dakota Township Officers Day.
Dale, I think we should give you a hand for accepting the North Dakota Township Association statewide position.
Thank you, guys.
I will be short and sweet. This is just a reminder that if you have your farm residence exemption forms not filled out, those applications were due on February 1st. The statement of gross income applications are due the 31st of March. I would suggest using your most current income taxes on the statement of gross income, meaning I would wait until your 2024 taxes are completed and use those numbers, because then you will not have to fill out another statement of gross income until 2027. If you are retired or have a vacant farm set, just mark yes, sign it, date it, send it back. You have to do these yearly. You cannot unfortunately do 10 years at a time. The primary residence credit is also available for the 2025 year. It is eligible for only those who pay taxes on their primary residence. The application deadline is March 31st. It is online and it is much easier if you have applied last year to fill it out for this year. If you don't, you do not get this credit if you have a farm residence exemption, because your residence is already exempt. Lastly, on March 11th at 7 p.m. at the KTL building, we will be having a public hearing on the Dakota Central fiber optics line that is going to run, or has potential to run, in Berlin and Speedwell townships. After this hearing, we will have a regular meeting in which any township official may attend and keep the lines of communication open between counties and townships regarding zoning and planning issues. I've had a few people contact me wanting to visit about township road right-of-ways being listed in the zoning, since only county and state roads are listed at this time. As well as just reviewing some of the other portions of zoning that may need to be updated. Are there any questions?
That date again,
March 11th,
at what time again?
7 p.m. And then, so the regular meeting will happen directly after the public hearing. And everyone is welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jim. The zoning has been kind of a topic in the legislatures. There's been a number of bills. So at your annual meeting, you're gonna wanna make sure that you are either on the county's plan or you have your own zoning ordinances in place. The one thing about the zoning, you cannot zone them out. You can restrict. You cannot in your zoning say, no, we will not allow a hog operation. You can put restrictions in, but you can't actually zone them out. Okay, we're gonna do a quick roll call of townships that are here, and then we're gonna turn it over to question and answer for the commissioners. When I call your township, just in to holler out present. Berlin. Present. Billadu. Present. Berlin. Oops, we did that with Bremen.
Present.
Bull Moose.
Present.
Cathay.
Present.
Chaseley. Crystal Lake.
Present.
Delger. Fairville.
Present.
Forward.
Present.
Graham.
Present.
Germantown.
Present.
Holland. Hamburg.
Present.
Oxnest.
Present.
Heimdall.
Present.
Hillsdale.
Present.
Johnson. Lynn.
Present.
Manfred is present. Norway Lake.
Yo.
Oshkosh.
Here.
Pony Gulch.
Yes.
Progress.
Yo.
Rustlin. Silver Lake. South Cottonwood.
Present.
Speedwell.
Yeah.
St. Anna.
Present.
Sykeston. Walhalla.
Present.
Wells.
Present.
West Norway.
Present.
West Ontario.
Here.
Western.
Present.
Woodward. Okay, This time I'm gonna turn the microphone over to the commissioners, and you guys can fire away with questions. Before we get into the questions, there's a couple of thank yous I want to make, but thanks everybody for coming today. It was a nice turnout. Number one, I want to thank Dale for putting this on. Many of you know he is the new on the state township board. District 2 director. And thanks for Richard for the past work that he's done. The other one I want to thank is the guy that does the talking for us is Dan Studley. I know I hear people say, well, he's kind of doing everything, but everything that Dan presents to you, we have discussed at our meetings. And we don't always agree, but what he's presenting to you is coming straight from the commissioners, so I keep that in mind, I guess. We're very lucky in the courthouse. We've got an excellent staff. Our bridge between the townships and the county is through Brent and through our auditor, because realistically, we meet once a month. So a lot of our information comes through that. I know a lot of you, and we all are having some problems coming up in the future. And I guess what I want to say, and we're going to be open for questions here in a minute, but we're always open to listen to you, so you're welcome to come to any of our meetings or get a word to us or send a note and we'll discuss it when we have our meeting and so on. So we'll send the questions over here then. Thank you. Anybody got questions? Yes.
Why can't we move our weed cutting to October 1st, like it used to be, instead of October 5th?
The question is move the weed cutting to
October 1st.
October 1st. Is there a good reason for that?
They're done growing.
You know, it's a good point. We put that down and that be something we discuss.
I think we made it 15 to give people as much time as possible to move it up.
But I think the threat of no snow removal means nothing to these people who don't mow their ditches. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, good point. We'll look at that. That can be.
Serious look, because when we have an early snowstorm, they never get cut.
Yeah, there's both sides. Getting them cut early is a good thing too.
Can I say something? You know,
Yes.
I remember when Everett Johnson was chairman of Heimdall Township. If you didn't get your roads cut by the 15th of July, you got a phone call from him. I got it several times. And I had to go cut my roads. And then he would make sure you cut them again in the fall. So that's what should be done with the roads, but it doesn't get done.
you don't answer the phone. You don't answer the phone.
Well, I know, but I mean, there's people that hate the road. I hate a lot of roads in my life. That's how I lived with my cows, with paying hellholes and road ditches. But,
You know-
but I appreciated the phone call from him to get my ass in gear and go cut that road. Sure. He needed doing. He got to be the bad guy, but he was doing right.
You know, we're members of a 6-county meeting. We go down to Napoleon, Michigan, Linton. And in that area, we're lucky here. Most of you guys are on the ball to get roads cut. We don't have a whole lot of problem with that. But when you get down in that area, there's a lot of out-of-state landowners. And they could care less if they cut the road ditch or not. And they have a major problem with that. And they automatically have somebody go cut it and they turn the bill into them, they send it on their taxes and it doesn't even bother them, so. That's an issue that's south of us here.
I got a question on this, minimum maintenance in the wintertime maintenance. We have roads in our township that was owned by Garrison Immersion. Okay, now, we in the past, somehow, somebody put them on minimum maintenance. Who did that, Did the county do that, or are we gonna be able to continue to do that, or is this gonna be an issue?
That's probably for Brent, but I would say if it got put on there, that's your township that did it.
Yeah, township did. Township would have had it done. I mean, do they have signs?
Huh?
Do they have signs at the end that say minimum maintenance on them?
I think there's a few that do, but not the ones in the garrison diversion though. So I don't know who decided that. I've been on the board for as
Garrison
old as I
diversion.
am, and I can't remember, but I could look in the books, I suppose. But, I was just wondering if we're gonna have to redo that now, or if that's set.
So I guess let me get this straight, you don't want them to be that?
No, I mean, yeah, that's where we want them.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm just wondering if you're counting those miles
Yeah.
in this 43 miles or not?
Yeah. What was the wording that?
Any road that's maintained, even if it's once a year, I think is considered a road.
But that sounds like it's in lonetree.
Yeah.
Is it in Lonetree or Garrison Diversion you're talking all this?
Well, that's the one I'm saying.
Okay.
They would be included in
I think what
Because
we,
they don't pay any taxes, you know, they give us some money, but they don't really pay
But
any.
those roads aren't bladed, correct?
We usually have, I'd say they get bladed twice a year, in the spring and in the fall.
then-
For hunting season, they gotta be bladed.
yeah, then they count as your road miles. If they're just
They
bladed.
count as road miles.
Yeah. Richard?
Are the townships gonna have a chance to sit down and look at what miles we want bladed and how many times we want bladed? Is that gonna be talked?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Right now, that supposed bill, and I wish we had good news for you guys, but that $100, that's the starting point, and we do want your input after that.
I talked to you about that road that comes right by my house,
Yeah.
28th Street, and there's days we get 40 semis going on that road to get to Hamburg Elevator.
Yeah.
In my mind, that road needs to be bladed a lot more than some of the roads in our township that probably don't have that amount of traffic all year long.
Right.
So every time the blade comes, they don't need to blade every road in our township, but that 28th Street goes all the way from Cheyenne to South.
Yeah.
That's a heavy travel road.
Yeah.
I'd like to see counters on that road, to see how many are going.
And that's the whole thing with the county, there's areas that are a lot more use than others, so. That's good information, and, get that to us so we can discuss it with Brent, the road crew.
That used to be a federal aid road, and then they took that.
Well, yes, sir.
Dennis, my question is, I mean, if the base charge is $100 a mile per the road, right, for our townships? And, I mean, I understand the cost of what it takes to maintain our roads that the county provides. I don't have any problem with that. My question is that if that's our baseline, and you guys, I know, are looking for more than $100 a mile, are we going to have the opportunity to be a customer that gets some input on what you're gonna charge and how much a pass is gonna cost? I mean, I know Dan is very, very good with numbers. Are you guys gonna drill down to that kind of thing? So we get a choice as a township to say, okay, we don't want that minimum maintenance road, that pass costs you $50 a time or $20 a time, where we get to then make some decisions and use our money, because like for us in Western, we don't have 5,000 extra dollars to give for our roads.
Yeah.
And I'm not in any way saying I'm against this fee. It's just, if that's our baseline, are we gonna get an opportunity to have some input going forward?
Yeah, I think Stan's got an answer, but just a brief answer to that is, when we were discussing all this and breaking it down, the amount of times our blade goes, you're probably only paying $30 a trip or less.
No, it takes half an hour to blade 1 mile.
To try to answer your question a little bit, first off, we'd like to keep it simple. We don't want to get into the details of charging per blading, okay? I'd encourage you all, like Richard said, to contact Brent and give your input as to what roads should be bladed more often than others. We all have it, that it shouldn't just be 6 times a year. One road might need 10 times a year, one could be 2 or 3. Give him that input. The second part of it is, as far as the $100, realize the average cost, and don't beat us up, we're just the messenger here. We have a $600,000 deficit in the road department. We're trying to alleviate that by having a $100 fee that gets 140,000 of that, 600, okay? Most counties charge between $250 and $350 a month, okay? How they do it, how you do it, that's a problem, okay? I get that, but that's where we're coming from as far as trying to come up with getting rid of that deficit. The other thing is that I think a lot of times, a lot of extra money is spent on gravel when encourage, rent, and give your input this time of year to bring shoulders in, and that's a learning curve that everybody's realized. Having a crowned road will pay dividends for years to come, save on gravel, save on everything, and there's a narrow window when that can be done, when there isn't grass this high on the shoulders. Give your input to Brent, the miles you want shoulders to be brought in, and they'll do, I feel, a better job at getting that all done this spring than what they've done in the past. Right. The other part you gotta realize, Prairie Dog is giving you all, give or take, based on road miles, between $8,000 and $12,000 this biennium. And what's that for? What are your costs? Your costs are gravel, any road repair, like if there's a washout, or culverts, right? And blading. Well, right now you don't pay for blading, but you're getting money from the state for blading. So that's where we're coming from, that we just feel that some of that should come to the county. Like I said, don't beat up the messenger, okay? We could raise, and somebody asked, well, just raise the general mill levy. Well, you're maxed out at 60, we're at 52. You never want to get close to that 60 because of the fact that if something blows up or something happens that you need extra money, you can't go over 60. That's state law, okay? The other thing, you're putting it on the backs of Bowden, Harvey, and Fessenden taxpayers when you raise the general mills, okay? That's really a long answer, wasn't it?
That was good. One other quick thing, a couple of us went down, Association of Counties had a 2-day meeting where you could sit down with the legislators, and I give those two guys credit because what we think in our area is a no-brainer, they're up against it. They're fighting the eastern part of the state, they're fighting the Williston, Dickinsons. It's very tough for them to get things through like this gas tax, for instance. That would benefit all of us and make those guys that are using all our roads pay for it a little bit. But they're gonna have a tough battle getting that through the Fargo and western part of the state area. So anyway, when you think that the guys in Bismarck all get together and do what they want, they don't all get along, believe me. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
What's the status on the bridge on Wells County 1?
That's, the engineers are working on it.
Engineers are working on it.
Yeah. Engineers are doing the study on it, so.
Didn't they say they're possibly going to bid in the spring of 27?
Yeah.
Or was it?
I think it's before that.
It was before that.
Well, trying to get it to go to bid the spring of 26
Yes.
and completion in the fall of 26.
The engineering will get done and hopefully it goes to bid in 26. And hopefully, listen to those guys, hopefully we get some more money for that. Anything else? Yes?
Are we gonna have any type of contract on this, to where we can guarantee how many times we're gonna have the blade come over and do what we're doing.
Well, like we said, this time it's that flat deal. That's why we want input
I
from you for
understand
the
it's a
future.
flat deal, and being medium threat, I understand that, which roads, you know, even in wintertime, not every road has to be open, we have to put signs up that say no winter maintenance. That's an expense for a township too. So that's just kind of ideas
No winter
that
maintenance
I'd like to have
signs
clarified.
make sense.
Yeah, this coming up, nothing will change the way it is now, so, yes.
Why doesn't each township just, do a route, or what they want bladed for the summertime? Cause we got all roads in ours that don't need to be bladed, we're gonna get charged for that one too?
Yeah, well, right
You
now.
guys got a lot of stuff to figure out. You got this poured out so far, in my opinion.
That's why we want your input.
We gave it to you when you had your meetings, so what happened?
Well, this is what we came up with, sorting everything else and everything, but, yeah.
Dennis.
Yep.
When you have all your annual meetings, you open your plat book up, you basically got a perfect township map of your roads in there. At your meeting, you should sit down, put some copies of that out. Take some of these highlighters, a couple different colors, designate your main roads that need more of the blading in one color, put your secondary roads in another color, so you can hand them in to Brent and make it a lot easier for the townships.
As long as you're having an annual meeting, we want two other inputs, and part of it is what you said, that a lot of this we talked about last summer at those different meetings. You tell us what we should charge you per mile. Let us know. If you think it should be zero, keep in mind, state average is between 250 and 350. If you think it's zero, put it down, okay? You all are gonna have an annual meeting within the next month. This is the only annual meeting, the only meeting you probably, some of you have during the year. We would like that. So you got three things to hand back to Dan Scutland, the auditor. One of them is what Dale just talked about, that dollar figure in which you would like as far as us charging you. And the second thing would be any other way in which we can either enhance revenue or save costs as a county. Put yourself in our shoes. I mean, it's easy to define a problem. It's way tougher to come up with a solution. That way, we really do appreciate your input. It's in writing, it comes from your annual meetings, and then it's on paper, and we can look at it in the future.
Ron, you want something?
I can remember as a kid, my dad knew the maintainer guy, and he stopped and visit once in a while. So I will encourage every one of you in the township officers to build a relationship with your blade man. Communicate as much as you can. Sometimes it's probably a little tough. That's how we get there. Thank you.
Ryan, we were instructed to only talk to Brent, we're not to talk to the blade men.
Yes.
You told us that at the last meeting.
Yes, sir. I give out our blade guy up, numbers to, how many times have you guys called and wanted to know the blade guy's number? I've given them out. If you're gonna complain, or you have a complaint about something being done, I want it to come to me. At no point do I want you guys to stay away. I mean, I was a blade guy for 17 years, and the best part of blading a gravel road was having the local stop and visit and ask me how things were going, and we would talk. None of our blade guys want to stay away from the area, so it's a misinterpretation. I don't think I told you. I told you if you're upset with something that they did, that I'm their supervisor, and you need to talk to me first.
Okay, that is it. That might have been what you intended to say, but it's not what you said. We'd love to just talk to our people, and I don't want to sit there and chew anybody's butt out. I've never chewed our blade man's butt out for anything. But yeah, you told us not to talk to them at those meetings at the KTL building with the commissioners. You didn't want us talking to them, we were supposed to come to you. Now, if it's only when there's a problem, that's a much different thing than what was actually said to us.
Okay. I think that we're open for you to just, you gotta understand, some of these blade guys really cut check.
Well, and I understand it. I work in a government office. I understand how that.
So there's a fine line, you know.
These guys are catching hell when they go over supper on Saturday night.
Right, and that shouldn't be either.
It shouldn't, but it happens every day.
That's where the misconception comes. Anything else? Stan, I've got another one.
This is unrelated to roads. If any of you, some of your townships, there's getting to be a sparsely, we mention this every year, sparsely populated group of people that is a struggle to get supervisors. We certainly encourage townships to combine if you want to do that. Because I think there's some townships only have 7 or 8 people in the whole township, and if you struggle with supervisors, no one wants to do it anymore, we would encourage you seriously to combine with an adjoining township, make one set of supervisors that do 2 townships. That's certainly fine. As we're getting a sparsely populated community, that's just a sign of the times.
And that's another thing we learned from our 6 county meetings, that's happening around the state. Sam?
Yeah, that's going on, and there has been in Kidder County for years, but
Right.
like with these prairie dog funds and stuff, do you only get 1 set of them instead of 2? Or?
No, I spoke with our executive director and I asked him on that. Prairie dog funding supposedly is initiated by the township number and the range number. So if 2 townships combined, there should be 2 payments. They would still, both townships would get their prairie dog funding. So it would be 2 full payments on the 1 combined township is what I was told.
You know, a lot of counties have unorganized townships. That money goes straight to the county, the county has to take care of take care of everything. In Wells County, they're all organized townships.
All 36 are organized, yes.
Question, that's only gonna work for those who are struggling. In our township, we have Highway 5 paved road, we have 2 highways in our township. So, if we merge with a township that's next to us, what are you gonna do with you're gonna divvy up our revenue with the other township, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, it would be another set of problems. Way to open the can of worms or Senate.
Well, it's something to look into.
But it's something to investigate. I'm sure it would come with some other problems, yeah. But when you don't have people to get into the supervisor, what do you do, you know? The other option is to become an unorganized township, I suppose, but we don't really promote that either. I guess just to emphasize then, when you have your meetings coming up, discuss all this stuff. And get us the information, you know, like roads that you want, don't want, whatever, get us that stuff. We can look it all over. Okay? Nothing else? Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, emphasizing on that, getting your plat book out and going over those maps and getting those into before everybody wants to disappear here, we're gonna have a quick business end of our meeting. Try to get wrapped up here within a half hour's time. First is our old business, would be the treasurer's report for the association for the year.
We had a little misprint on our treasurer's report. I don't know when I sent it to Holly, she printed it, it didn't print it. It said we paid in our township, that's at 7,200. On some sheet of paper that didn't show up. But that's, at 7,200, that's what we paid in our township. So the math should work, but it's just missing some words in there. I can read through it if you want me to, or, we start out at $5,169, a little interest, and collection dues, $8,100, donation, $500, total income, $13,772, and then expenses for the dues, and newspaper, and postage, and food for last meeting, and total expense $78, we ended up with $5,900 at the end of the year. Any questions on money part?
Do you have 100% participation?
We got them all last year. Takes me a while. But anybody who brought their check now, I'll take them in the back there after the meeting. If you got the checks going along. I thought about trying that deal again. You sign a paper, you can get, the county can collect them, but we ran into trouble, someone wouldn't sign it. It'd be a lot simpler to do my job if the county just collected $225 and send them to me, but I don't know if it's worth trying again or not. Last time we had about 5 holdouts that wouldn't sign it, so I dropped it. Any more questions? I just want to thank, I was on that board with Dale's on now for 6 years, and I got him talked into taking my spot, so you can chew on him now after I leave. One quick thing I'd like to say, I look at the roads, I live on that 28th Street where all those semis go, and this winter when the gravel, after there's been no snow and no snow removal, the gravel ridges in the middle and inside, they were 2 inches above the center track. And I don't know if it would help, maybe you guys don't want to do it, but I think if the trucks would run on them gravel ridges, a lot of that gravel would get flattened out on its own. I try to do it with my pickup, but I don't do much. So I don't haul 80,000 loads. But if you don't think you'd rid your tires, I think running on them gravel ridges would take care of a lot of the gravel that disappears when the snow falls.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read? We got Donnie Maché, West Norway. Is there a second? Chad Rees from Weston Township. Next item, our secretary treasurer report, our reading the minutes from our last meeting.
Minutes?
Yeah.
Friday, March 1st, 2024, here at the Festival Hall. Reports were given by Jerry Klein and John Nelson, our District 14 representative. Tammy Dorick reported on the FEMA work from 2021. Wells County was code red. It was it's a great way to stay in on the loop on disaster situations. You can log on to that through the Wells County website. She also discussed the National Flood Program. Jana Mulgren talked about the tax credits for homesteads, disabled vets, and the primary residence credit. Dan Stutling talked about the mill rates and special taxes as far as the ditch mowing. Brent Keller reported on shoulder pulling, section lines, prairies, trails, and the secondary gravel roads. Sorry, I started in the middle of those minutes apparently. The elections were held for districts 2, 4, and 6. They were motioned and seconded. Do you guys want me to read all of the district names off? No. There you go.
Do we have a motion to accept the secretary's report? It's been moved. Is there a second? Ben seconded, Steve. Next item is our district elections. District 1, District 3, and 5. I represent District 1, that is Hillsdale, Wells, Graham, Western, Forward, and Manford. Somebody from those townships have a nominee? they would like to submit? Bonnie?
I nominate you.
I've been renominated. Any others? Any others? Any others? All in favor of Dale Schmitz for District 1, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. District 3, Pony Gulch, Rustlin, St. Anna, Crystal Lake, Delger, and West Ontario. Currently, Alexa LaPlante is the district director for there. Did the district come up with a name, Alexa? Alexa has been nominated. Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other? All in favor of Alexa LaPlante for District 3, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same way. Alexa is in again. District 5, Bull Moose, Chaseley, Halland, Lynn, Silver Lake, and Progress. Currently it is being held by Bob Wolf. Did you guys come up with a name for your district? Looks like they all script out on us. If there isn't one, I will see if we can get Bob to rerun it. Bob, are you willing to rerun again? Sure. Bob has volunteered. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same way. That pretty much will conclude our meeting for today. Said I've been to quite a few of these meetings around the state. I was at all 9 of the meetings with the commissioners last year to make sure that our townships all had good representation and that we were all on an equal page. These term limits on the legislatures now, there's a lot of new faces coming in, and a lot of the old ones that we've always relied on to vote our way, they're gonna be out or aren't. They are not just wanting to see our 2 lobbyists come down there or our 6 district guys. They want to hear from all of our townships out in the rural. That's what they want to hear from. So, once again, thank you guys for attending the meeting today. It's good attendance.
Load restrictions in Wells County took effect this morning.
Load restrictions this morning. Yes, John? Dues will be the same again. 125 on the dues. 225. Yeah. Okay, 225. Do we have a motion to adjourn? And moved and seconded. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending.